Welcome to Suburban Warrior, the podcast that will impact, inspire, and empower you to transform your mindset and become the badass warrior that you are. I'm your host and fellow warrior, Chrissy Pfeiffer, former clinician and corporate marketing exec turned multi-passionate entrepreneur, performance and life coach, and mom to 4 not-so-little warriors. Each week, I will bring you honest conversations with inspiring guests to share their stories of resilience, optimism, success, and simple yet effective strategies so that you transform your thoughts and change your behavior to get the results you want in your life. You will be empowered to take action, warrior up, and believe in you. Let's do this. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to another episode of the Suburban Warrior Podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy Pfeiffer, and back again this week with another amazing suburban warrior here to share her story with us. And for all you moms out there, this is one that you absolutely need to tune into because we are going to get some awesome advice for our kids today. So I have with me Bronwyn Bergen. She is the founder and president of the Stars Kids Life Coaches, which is a certified global kids life group specializing in building self-esteem, social skills, emotional intelligence, and communication skills, while also addressing growth mindset for athletes, attention disorders, divorce recovery, and also parental counseling. They work with children, coaching them to develop a growth mindset, confidence building, resilience, and dealing with adversity. The ultimate goal is to build a success mindset in every young person with whom they work and to inspire, motivate, and provide kids with a greater self-acceptance, self-awareness, and clear understanding of their own thinking patterns. We accomplish this by assessing children's needs, then developing a tailor-made individualized program. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I mean, being a coach myself, I love interviewing other coaches, but I will say most of the time, there are coaches that coach adults, that coach specialize in either women, executive coaching, you name it. So I'm really excited to have someone on that specializes in coaching kids, because obviously it's such an important part of really capturing their mindset at a young age, like you said, to really build the success thinking and develop these amazing thinking patterns that can last them throughout their whole life. So I'm thrilled to have you on.
Thank you. I'm just very excited myself. And you're right. There aren't many, if there's a few, maybe kids life coaches out there, but not many in the United States. It's sort of like I caught the bottom of the wave.
Absolutely.
And there is such a need in our kids.
Oh my gosh. We can certainly get into that later because there is a huge need. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up getting into coaching kids?
Okay, sure. I'd love to. So I taught elementary school for 30 years.
Okay.
But prior to, actually at the very beginning of my teaching career, I also got a master's degree in education and psychology. And I always wanted to leave the door open to the opportunity if I wanted to go like the therapist route or not. The bottom line was I just simply loved kids and I connect very, very well with kids. So I had that. And as I advanced over the years, 30 years is a long time to be a school teacher.
30 years is a long time to be a school teacher. I mean, you obviously loved it and were very passionate about it. You don't even look like you should have been doing anything for 30 years.
You're silly. Thank you. But so as I went through the roller coaster of COVID and so forth, I really saw, actually, I should say, pre-COVID, I really saw a rise in anxiety, stress, lack of resiliency and coping skills in our kids as a school teacher. And I really thought to myself, I spend a large part of my day in my teaching career pulling kids aside and working on these things. And I kept on thinking, why is this happening? Why is this happening to our children? So COVID hit. We all pivoted in the world. And I just, I really noticed such a such an impact, and the level of the kids pivoting also of this stress and anxiety rising. So I thought to myself, I knew I was nearing retirement. What could I do? I was, I still felt fairly young at the time. I got into a teaching career right out of college. Let's put it that way. So I thought, geez, what can I do? And my husband and I literally, it's a funny story. We were sitting there having a glass of wine, and I'm like, I still need to help kids, but I don't want to go the therapy route. I didn't feel that's my niche. And he said, so I give him creds. He said, there's adult life coaches, but are there anything like for kids? And I thought, wow, like there was this huge light bulb moment.
Yeah.
So next morning I'm up and I'm Googling, and there really weren't, I felt, any programs that addressed every aspect, knowing kids, knowing what needs to happen with kids. There are some out there, but not, I don't want to use a very valid programs. Let's put it that way. Right. I found one in London. Wow. And I reached out, applied, accepted. Fast forward a year later, went through an entire intense program, and then started my business. So at the very end of my teaching career, I was balancing teaching all day, and then I would coach kids at night. And I started off with referral, et cetera. My business grew. Then, especially after COVID, the rise that we saw in kids, I was able to pivot my business to also being virtual. Okay. So I was now seeing in-person and virtual clients. And I started really seeing the results of what I was doing and so forth. And that's basically how I got into the business. And then it just grew from there. Started with referrals to, me just starting with a little Facebook page to getting people in Utah, California. I started coaching kids all over. So I took that. And as my business was growing and growing, I had an in-person studio in Newtown, Pennsylvania, but I was still handling virtual clients. I actually had somebody reach out from Shanghai, and I now went international. I was working with a child in Shanghai, which was super
That's amazing. That is so cool.
Yes. So that's how I got into it.
Well, that's an amazing story because, you took your passion and just applying it in a different way. I wonder, so what are the ages of the kids that I'm sure they range, but is there like a typical age range that you would say of kids that you're specifically coaching?
Yes. So for the business aspect, I say I can coach kids 5 through 18.
Okay.
Because the concepts and everything, we can work with a 5-year-old, which I've done, and seen dramatic improvements, and work with an 18-year-old. That's been spectacular. Okay. But the median range I'm seeing right now is 11 through 14.
Okay.
And I used to see more female. All right. Yeah. Right. At least in this moment right now, more males.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Very interesting. Mm-hmm.
And would you say that, I'm just curious, like that when they come to you listen, we all know that mental health is, we're sort of in a mental health crisis, yes, in the United States, especially with kids. And to your point, I do think it was happening prior to COVID. I think that our kids were becoming extremely anxious, stressed out. They're not being taught the coping skills, I believe, for the situations that they're being put into when it comes to social media, when it comes to being able to handle situations, handle conflict. I don't think they had that skill set, unfortunately. And as parents, we really don't either, because we didn't deal with it. Right. Exactly. So I'm just curious, are the kids coming? Is it mostly like anxiety, depression, trying to figure out how to cope? Is that mostly what you're seeing present as they come to you?
I would say yes to that, but it really does run the gamut. Okay. When I started the business, I really was advertising as parents reaching out proactively and reactively. Proactively, like, hey, I see my child. I'd love for them to build leadership skills or social skills or, friendship type situations. Like, so, and I'm very few proactively, but then especially most recently, it's been reactively with like you were saying, some anxiety and so forth. But I still have parents that say bullying is still a really big issue. Their child is being bullied and the child is having a really difficult time dealing with it, whether it's in-person bullying that's still happening in schools or it's cyberbullying. Either one is really still such a problem there, and I'm really trying to help these kids navigate. And the way to do that is realizing their own self-worth and their own strengths, building those up as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about that a little bit. So, building up their self-worth, realizing their own strengths. I know we talked, a little bit about having that growth mindset, and really just their thinking patterns in general. So what is like maybe one or two of the most important strategies or things that you work on with kids that we're, whether it's a growth mindset or, certain thinking pattern that when that clicks for them, you can really say, okay, I see a difference or you know what I mean? It's working kind of thing.
So I can absolutely give you general. One thing that I do is, at least at Stars Kids Life Coaches, is we make tailor-made programs because every child and everybody is different, right?
Absolutely.
And you could throw a million strategies or skills at them. But what I try to do is sort of fine tune that before they get that to me. So I'll have a parent conversation, so forth, listen to the parent concerns, goals, objectives. I also offer a free assessment on my website that narrows those down that you're referring to, that help me when I create my program, really hone in on the skills and objectives that we need to. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, somebody reaches out, their child has anxiety, like you said, lacking a growth mindset. They have more of a fixed mindset. So we try to really shift that thinking. First of all, we need to expose them the difference of a fixed mindset versus a growth, right?
Right.
And bring up situations in their own lives. So what I try to do is elicit conversations with them saying, well, when do you feel like you are stepping out of your comfort zone or not, right? So that's going to distinguish that growth mindset or fixed. And they'll give me an example. And I say, okay, all right. So let's talk about that. So you really have to elicit their emotions, their feelings. And that brings that self-awareness that we talked about, because that's key first, right? They need to realize that they're experiencing a fixed mindset. So you want them that takes a little bit of time. So they're first going to tap into how they feel, right? They're going to say, ooh, so-and-so asked me to go to a party or, out with friends and I'm not feeling comfortable. That's a fixed mindset, right? So they need to first realize they're experiencing that. What are those feelings and emotions? And then we'll work on those strategies. So maybe it is just simply saying to somebody, okay, you know what? I'm going to just say, I'll meet you for a few minutes and let's meet after class in the hallway and let's talk about this. There could be baby steps rather than just taking gigantic leaps. And then obviously when we're working on that self-awareness, when they first realize they might be having that fixed mindset, they could be working on just a simple breathing technique. And there's a million of them out there. So you're going to have to narrow that down, because that's going to calm down their entire system so that they can make these rational decisions to say, hey, I'm bringing this awareness. I am doing this fixed mindset. And how am I going to shift my brain over to, well, maybe I am okay stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah.
So again, that's just a quick snapshot of something that we might do or work with a client.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm just listening and, it's so funny. It's very simple. Obviously we're all humans, right? So it's similar to adults, the same, because adults still need self-awareness and all of these tactics as well. But when you're working with kids, they are so resilient. And I feel like, do you feel like they pick up these concepts pretty quickly?
So I love that question. And here's why. Because I didn't mention yet is one thing that we offer that I don't believe other people do is a free meet and greet.
Oh.
And this meet and greet is hugely important in my world, because I tell parents that connection is key. Like I had mentioned at the very beginning of this, that I connect very well, right, with kids. But if the child isn't going to connect to you, or you're not going to connect to the child, well, you've already lost half the battle, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So this free meet and greet, I get to know them. I make sure there's a connection. There's no wrong answers. But I also, the key aspect is I put ownness back on them. I don't care if they're 5 or they're 18. So what I say to them is, listen, if we're going to work together, this isn't, all my show. This is a team effort here. So I'm going to be giving you strategies. I'm going to be giving you skills. Are you willing to apply them? Because the last thing I want is for me to be working with a child and them going, right? And him and hawing me and then walk out or leave, shut their computer virtually and say, okay, I'm done with her for the next week. I want them to have, such a mindset that they're going to say, okay, ooh, right. Bronwyn said, I really need to be working on this skill and strategy. Am I going to apply it? And we want them to do that. So to go back to your question, yes, I put ownness back on the child, and they have to be willing to be an equal participant in this journey that we're taking together.
I love that, because not only because obviously that's how you see success, but also because at this young age, they start to realize that it really is up to them, right? It's up to them. Like they have control, over their thoughts, over their actions, over their emotions. So right from the beginning, you're sort of putting it out there and putting it on them to say, yes, I'm here to help. I'm here to coach. But your success is going to be based on how well, you apply it and start to understand right from the beginning that it's about you.
Yeah. And again, like I whether they're 5 or 18, teens are obviously, well, I shouldn't say that they're always forthright. They're different in their own right. But even if you have any child, if you really connect and talk with them, you're going to get that vibe, and they're going to know that they're not feeling good on their inside. They're going to say to you, and again, with children, there's that mind with everybody, there's that mind and body connection, but we want them to, sometimes they need to realize that if they're having these feelings in their thoughts, that's why they're getting their belly aches or, clammy hands and upset stomachs. And they'll say to me, I don't feel good about myself. So, I say, well, we're going to make that better. What I'm here to do is I'm a coach to help you feel better and be the best version of yourself. Yeah. So, and, they want that. So you're 100% right. Kids are so resilient, and most of the time they're open, but they do need to have that ownness also, because, most people want to feel better and be the best they can be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm just curious to get because since you work with so many kids, to get your opinion on, like, why do you think it is that we have all of these kids that are anxious and stressed out? I mean, I know, we do live in a very different world, fast-paced world, lots of pressures on them, but I'm just curious to get your perspective on it from someone who hears directly from them. Right.
So I think there's a lot of factors, but I think one main factor truly is kids are feeling so much pressure than they've ever felt, either from academics earlier, sports world. We're overscheduling our kids. We're putting so much on them. Like, I don't know about you, but when I was in, let's say you use the elementary to middle school age, my biggest worry is I'm going to go to school. Yes, I have to have great grades. And who am I going to go home and play with outside?
Yeah, totally.
That's it. Right. Yeah. Our kids are, okay, well, now we have our cell phones attached. When I get home, I might have piano lessons from 4 to 5. I've got to eat a quick snack. I've got to fit dinner in there. Oh, and then I've got soccer practice for an hour and a half. And I mean, even as a school teacher, I would have kids come in and say to me, Mrs. Bergen, I couldn't do my homework last night because I had a soccer game and then I had piano practice and play practice. And I was like, hold, no.
Yeah.
So, right. But what's happening is, and I think that's the reason why I was even seeing it in school, is we're overscheduling. And even think about the athletic side of it, right?
My gosh.
We try to expose our kids to all of these things. And how lucky are they, right? But they're starting earlier and earlier and earlier. And then we have club teams and we have travel teams and we've got school teams. And then we feel pressure to make all of them. And then mom and dad have expectations. And now you've introduced other sport coaches.
Yeah.
So I think, a common factor of kids I'm also seeing is the stressors from their outside, right? It's besides academic and family and all of that. And then you're factoring time management. I mean, I work on time management with some of my older kids because they can't, the ball's up in the air. That stress level is overwhelming to them.
Yeah. It's overwhelming to adults. So I can only imagine what it is like for them.
Yes. And then what happens is kids get defeated. They're overwhelmed. Yes. So what do they say? They go to mom and dad and say, I'm done. I'm not playing anymore. Or they're so stretched that they're not good at one really good thing because they have to be good at a million things while they're still developing mentally and physically.
Right.
It's a juggle, and kids it's difficult for them.
And it's all the other thing I think is too, that all these extracurriculars that back in the day we did for fun. And we did to develop ourselves as a person and to learn leadership and what it's like to be a part of a team and to be with our friends after school. All of a sudden, it becomes much more stressful, right? Like the fun isn't there like it should be.
Yes.
So meaning like it's not an outlet like it used to be. It's just another stressor.
Exactly.
Right? Like all these
too
things.
much. Yeah. And it's also, and listen, I'm all about being competitive. I'm a highly competitive person.
Right.
But to be competitive in every single aspect of your life is overwhelming for anybody. I'm stressed out talking about it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
But it's funny because it's not funny, but another avenue that I'm super excited about is I had segued from my one-on-one or group coaching, right? With mindset and confidence building and so forth to athletic mindset. I had people reaching out and saying, my child's in their sport. Can you work on this mental toughness aspect?
Yeah.
And so I did. I started working with the number 4th squash player in the country, 16. I mean, and again, I was seeing these results. But I'm super excited to say I'm partnering with somebody. I can't divulge too much about it yet, but in the next few weeks, I mean, I'm still working with clients, but we are taking our athletic mindset coaching to another whole level.
I love that.
Yeah. And we will have specific coaches with specific sports who have been professional players, who have been down that road, but is also going to be working on the athletic mindset, the mental toughness, but also the key is also balancing that academics also.
Yeah.
Because academics is hugely important. So,
absolutely.
So we're having another launch soon. That's another biggie down the road that I can't wait to talk about. I could come back another time and talk about just that.
I would love that. I would love that because I think tapping into the mind of an athlete is fascinating. I mean, when I was a dancer and a cheerleader, and so I, didn't compete in that way. I mean, we competitive. I had competitive cheerleading, but whatever. It was a little different.
Even dance competitions are intense.
Yeah. So dance competitions, but we all know it was just different back in our day. Like we did it, but I'm fascinated having a couple of my kids that are athletes. And then, just as a coach following so many things about mindset of athletes, I'm fascinated by it because I do think it's getting to the next level of being an athlete is so much about the mental game than the physical game. 100%. And so I'd love to have you on to talk about that in general, because I think it's fascinating.
I'm totally on board because, again, everybody that reaches out for that go, wait, they have coaches, they have trainers, they have, where's the mindset? Where is that? So that's what that's what we're doing. And that's what
love it.
created. So we're super excited about that. But
well, I'm super excited to hear more about it because that's incredible. It's awesome.
Good.
Well, good. So the next steps then for kids, for Stars Kids coaching is this, you're doing athletes.
Yes.
And are you still going to be coaching?
Counsel. So I also do parental because I've had a lot of parents reach, obviously at the end of each session, when we work with children at Stars, we set goals, right? And then of course, what's a parent? We always give feedback. We say what we're working on, but parents need advice too. Parents need guidance on how to help their kids at home. So we also offer that. But most recently, I've been super excited because I have had people reach out to me and say, I love what you're doing. I was a school teacher, or I am a school teacher, or I work with children in another capacity. I'm also very passionate. How can I do what you're doing? So my project for the past year was creating my own training. I trained 2 coaches. Like if you were to go on my website now, you'll see 2 coaches listed. I trained those coaches in person, and then hugely successful. They have many clients that they're helping. But then I thought, I can't do this. I can't train as many people.
Everybody.
So what I'm excited I'm hoping for the next 2 weeks, and we'll put this all over my website and social media, is I'm going to be launching our own online training program where you can become a Stars Kids Life coach. You will apply, you'll talk with me, almost like an interview process. And then you will have the opportunity to go on to this platform that has been created. And you're going to go through the entire process of the philosophy behind coaching, to the actual training, to a case study with the child. You'll receive a certification under Stars Kids Life Coaches. And you can also, that way my ultimate goal was, how many kids can I help? When you're one person and as a coach, you can only help. There's only so many hours a day. And my husband's like, do we have a life? I don't know. Wait, you're coaching on a Sunday night? And he's like, what's wrong with you? So, you can only do so much, and we need to have a balance. So the way I looked at it is, this is a way to do that, to hire more amazingly trained, passionate people and help as many kids as we possibly can. And as we know, and you said at the beginning, that mental health there's a crisis right now with our children in our country and beyond in other countries, but focusing right now in the United States.
Yeah. And so I think that's fabulous. And what an amazing way to, like you said, expand your reach and be able to reach more kids.
Yes.
I think kids, the ability for kids to have someone else to talk to, even if they have wonderful relationships with their parents, or they have a teacher at school, or they have a coach that they connect with. There's a lot of kids that don't have maybe all of that, or have one of those or whatever, but to have that, I believe everybody needs a coach. But I think for kids specifically, to be able to talk to someone who's not invested in their athletic career or their academics, or, knows their friend group, whatever you want to call it, just a third party that can give them some really amazing advice to help them through these times is, it's really priceless.
Yes. And we all know, you said you have 4, I have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Here I am. I'm an expert, but when I had my kids and they were teenagers, they were like, I'd give the advice and they'd look at me like I had 3 heads.
Yes. They don't want to listen to me.
Third party, right. Third party person. Whatever, but
it's so true. It's so true. It just unfortunately is the nature of being a parent.
It is.
Whatever we say, we know nothing.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So I totally agree with you. But coaching is such a valuable, legitimate, amazing concept that is just helping so many kids and adults right now just navigate our crazy society. It's frenetic at times, and somebody needs that calming and advice from a pro, from an expert.
Absolutely. Okay. So for all the moms listening right now that want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah. So you can find me on www.starskidslifecoaches.com. That's
Awesome.
that's our website. But you could also find there's Stars Kids Life Coaches on Facebook, Stars Kids Life Coaches on Instagram. And you could always reach out to me with any personal questions at Bronwyn at starskidslifecoaches.com. Just like my website. Yes.
Thank you. That's wonderful. And we will make sure we link all of that in the show notes for people to just click on and be able to find you as well.
Awesome. That's perfect. I would be more than glad to answer any questions, concerns. I love giving advice and I'm always here to help any parent. So, and child.
Oh, well, Bronwyn, thank you so much for being here. I think that the work that you're doing is not only super important to the world that we live in, but you're really doing an amazing job. It's a gift. So thank you so much.
No,
thank you for sharing.
So oh, of course. And thank you for inviting me on and allowing me to share.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, take a look in the show notes so that you can find Bronwyn and her website, and any questions, like she said, feel free to reach out. And we will be back next week with another awesome Suburban Warrior interview for you. Talk to you guys next week.